Welcome. You're about to drift into a time far removed from our own. A world of stone temples, shimmering gold, and strange, steady rhythms. The world of the Aztec Empire. Let your body rest. Let your breathing slow. And imagine yourself surrounded by towering temples, gently swaying maize fields, and lakes so still they reflect the sky like polished obsidian. This is Tenochtitlan, the magnificent heart of the Aztec civilization, a place of symmetry and power, of deeply rooted ritual, and lives lived in patterns as precise as the temple carvings they left behind. Tonight, we'll travel through 4 layers of this complex and distant world. We'll begin among the stone corridors of the great temples as a humble servant. Then, we'll follow the rise and fall of an emperor caught in a storm of change. Next, we'll descend into the buried secrets of a sacred site, its mysteries still only half revealed. And finally, we'll rest among nobles and priests, walking softly through floating gardens and perfumed palaces. So now, find stillness. And imagine, you are awake before the sun rises. Long before the golden light warms the white stone of the temples, your day has already begun. You are a temple servant, born into a family that has served the sacred spaces of the gods for generations. You do not question your place. There is no rebellion in your bones-only routine. A rhythm passed down like a song you did not write, but one you hum without thinking. Your sleeping mat is woven from agave fibers. It rests on the smooth, cool floor of a small communal room. The air is dry, still, and faintly scented with crushed copal, the resin burned during the dawn rites. You rise quietly. Silence is expected. The temple above you does not welcome the chatter of the unworthy. Your first task is to sweep the base of the temple's stairs. You use a simple broom of bundled reeds. Each stroke must be deliberate. Every grain of dust, every leaf fallen from the sacred ceiba trees must be removed. The gods notice everything, you're told, and the priests notice more. As the sky begins to shift from dark blue to pale amber, you carry clay jars of water up the steps. Step by step, always with care. The stairs are steep and worn smooth by centuries of feet like yours. You don't look up at the temple's crest. Not directly. You're not meant to. At the summit, the great platform is still quiet. But soon it will stir with the soft padding of barefoot priests, the rustle of feathered headdresses, and the whisper of prayers. Your duty now is to clean the ceremonial stone. Not the offerings, not the stains that linger after ritual. Those are left to dry beneath the sky, where the gods can see them. But the space around them, the walkways, the incense bowls, the water channels, those are your domain. You work with cold water, cloth, and sand, scrubbing in small circles, never asking questions. By mid-morning, the sun is high. Its heat reflects off the stone, shimmering in waves. The great plaza below teems with life. Merchants, nobles, musicians, and messengers. But you are not among them. Your place is here. Now you descend again, this time to fetch bundles of herbs and flowers for the midday offering. Marigold, wild sage, crushed cacao. The colors are beautiful. The scent rich and comforting. You take quiet pride in arranging the bundles, though no one praises your work. Pride is dangerous here. Too much pride, and you might be chosen for tasks more permanent. At noon, the temple echoes with flute notes. A rhythmic beat, slow and steady, begins to sound below. You do not look. The priests ascend the steps. Their garments rustle. Their sandals whisper against the stone. Some carry bowls, others obsidian blades. You stay where you are, kneeling near the fire pit, eyes on your task. The fire must be kept alive, but not too bright. It is not for warmth. It is for cleansing. The scent of incense thickens. You breathe slowly through your nose. You know what's coming, but you are trained not to flinch. There is sound movement prayer. Something ends, and then the platform is still again. The priests ascend, robes spattered, faces calm. You do not speak. You wait. Later, when the sun begins to fall, your tasks resume. Washing, sweeping, preparing the night lamps. Your hands are blistered. Your feet ache, but your face remains calm. A temple servant must not show discomfort. It is not your place to feel. As dusk settles over Tenochtitlan, the temple glows with soft flame. You descend the stairs once more, this time more slowly. Below, the city hums with evening life. But you return to the quiet shade of the servants' quarters. Another mat, another night. Another day waits above the stone stairs. Another day lived beneath the gods. Let your breath remain slow. Let your thoughts follow the flow of time, back, to a moment when the world changed forever. You are now in the same city, Tenochtitlan, but many years have passed. It is the year 1519. The empire is vast. Its markets overflow with cacao, jade, and cloth. Its warriors are feared. Its rituals still shape the heartbeat of daily life. But something unfamiliar is approaching. Strangers from across the ocean. And soon, everything begins to change. Imagine now that you are no longer a servant. You are someone who walks carefully across polished stone floors. You wear finely woven cotton. Your ears are pierced with jade. You are part of the court of Moctezuma II, the emperor of the Mexica, ruler of an empire built on alliances, tribute, and cosmic order. Moctezuma is not just a king. He is a living bridge between mortals and gods. His breath carries weight. His silences are studied. But lately, he is quiet more often. His steps are slower. Because across the Gulf of Mexico, omens have begun to appear. A comet in the sky. A temple struck by lightning. A voice in the night that weeps, "My children, we must go." And now, rumors reach the palace of pale-skinned men with metal skin and beasts that breathe smoke. They come not as traders, but as invaders. The strangers land on the eastern coast. They are led by Hernan Cortes, a man driven not just by gold, but by destiny, faith, and ambition. He burns his ships to remove retreat as an option. He allies with local peoples resentful of Aztec rule. And slowly, carefully, he begins his march inland. Moctezuma chooses not to resist at first. He sends gifts, gold, feathers, food. He hopes to buy time. He hopes the gods will give him a sign. When Cortes arrives in Tenochtitlan, he is awed. The canals, the temples, the order, this is no savage city. It is a capital finer than any he has seen, but tension simmers beneath the surface. Soon, Moctezuma is detained within his own palace. He is still treated with respect, but he is a prisoner. The people grow restless. Whispers move through the streets. While Cortes is away dealing with a rival Spanish force, his second-in-command orders a massacre during a festival. Dancers, Priests and nobles are slaughtered inside the temple precinct. Blood runs into the stone carvings. The music does not stop, it is cut off. Tenochtitlan erupts. When Quartz returns, he finds a city on the edge of rebellion. Moctezuma attempts to calm the crowds from a balcony, but he is pelted with stones. He dies shortly after, perhaps from his wounds, perhaps murdered by the Spanish. No one agrees. No one can say for certain. The Spanish attempt to flee the city under cover of night. It is raining. They carry too much gold. Their horses struggle in the narrow causeways. Aztec warriors, now united, attack from canoes and rooftops. Hundreds of Spaniards and their native allies are killed, dragged into the water, or sacrificed in temples. Quartz weeps beneath a tree. This night becomes known as La Noche Triste, the Night of Sorrows. But the story doesn't end there. The Spanish regroup. They bring new weapons, more allies. And after months of siege, starvation, and disease, Tenochtitlan falls. Its causeways are broken. Its temples pulled down stone by stone. The lake runs with ash. The city that once shimmered on the water is buried beneath the dust of conquest. Even as the empire ends, the memory remains. The people survive. The language is still spoken. The old gods whisper behind saints' names and carved crosses. And as you rest now, breathing softly, the sound of flute music, faint, fragile, still echoes in the dark. Breathe slowly now. You're no longer a servant, no longer an emperor. Now you are an observer, quiet, careful, drifting through centuries. The year is not 1500, it is 1978. And we are not above the temple anymore. We are beneath it. Beneath the streets of modern Mexico City, beneath concrete and traffic, beneath centuries of noise and rebuilding. Something sleeps. But not for long. Mexico City is alive, bustling, loud, modern. But under its cobblestone streets lie forgotten ruins. When the Spanish conquered Tenochtitlan, they didn't just destroy its buildings. They built over them. Stone by stone, the temples of the Aztecs were dismantled, their sacred places replaced by cathedrals, houses, and plazas. But some things refuse to stay buried. It begins with a cable. In 1978, workers from the electric company dig near the cathedral, next to the Zocalo, the city's central plaza. Their tools hit something hard, not just stone, but carved stone. And then a face, circular, fierce, radiant. It is the Coyolxauhqui stone, a massive relief showing the dismembered body of a moon goddess. Archaeologists rush in. What they uncover over the next decades will rewrite history. The heart of the Aztec world, long thought lost forever, is still there beneath the surface. The Templo Mayor, beneath layers of colonial construction, the ruins of the Great Temple are slowly revealed. It once stood 90 feet tall, its twin staircases rising toward the sky. At the top stood two shrines, one to Tlaloc, god of rain and fertility, and the other to Huitzilopochtli, god of war and sun. The temple had been rebuilt 7 times during the empire's height, each new layer encasing the old like a stone onion, peeled in reverse. Now, as archaeologists dig downward, they descend through time. They find sacrificial altars, obsidian knives, eagle statues, and the bones of hundreds of offerings, fish from the ocean, jungle animals, and human remains arranged in ritual patterns. One by one, these silent artifacts tell stories. You walk now through what remains of the temple's base. The night is quiet. The air still. Stone serpent heads line the perimeter, their mouths open mid-roar, frozen in time. Each was meant to guard the sacred center. Each was once brightly painted red, blue, yellow. Now they sit in silence, watched only by archaeologists and passing birds. Some of the most mysterious offerings come from far beyond the valley. Coral, shells, crocodile bones, and even sea turtles. How did they arrive here hundreds of miles inland? And why were they buried beneath the temple? These were not just offerings. They were cosmic symbols. The Aztecs believed that by burying the ocean deep beneath the temple, they were recreating the universe. The temple was not just a building. It was a cosmic axis, a point where heaven, earth, and underworld met. Even now, the Templo Mayor is only partially uncovered. Entire sections remain hidden beneath busy streets and buildings. City planners must choose what to dig, what to leave undisturbed. It's a delicate balance between memory and modernity. Sometimes, in the stillness of night, you can almost hear the echoes beneath the concrete. Not voices, not words, just presence. A weight, a stillness. Something waiting, not to be disturbed, but simply remembered. The night deepens now. You are no longer a laborer beneath the temple, no longer a warrior, no longer a god. Now, you are someone rare, someone born into comfort, into symbolism, into ritual of a different kind. You are a noble, a member of the Pipaltan class, the upper layer of Aztec society. Your life is structured not by backbreaking tasks, but by expectations of elegance, knowledge, and sacred duty. Your world is still filled with rules, but those rules are carved in jade, not sweat. Come now, let's walk through this rarefied air, softly, slowly, as though we belong. Your home is not far from the canals. Your family's estate is surrounded by water. Chinampa's floating gardens stretch out in all directions. The air smells faintly of water plants and smoke from distant hearths. Servants tend the crops in silence. Corn, beans, chilies, squash, flowers, all grown on artificial islands made of mud and woven reeds suspended on the surface of the great lake. You walk slowly along the edge of a stone causeway. Your sandals are made of soft leather. Your tunic is of fine cotton, dyed a deep indigo. Every gesture is measured, every movement graceful. You have been taught not only how to speak, but when to be silent. Cleanliness is not a luxury. It is a moral duty. Each morning, you bathe in warmed water scented with herbs. Your skin is scrubbed with crushed seeds. Your hair is combed with bone tools dipped in oil of marigold. Perfume is not just for pleasure, it is a sign of order, of being in harmony with the gods. Fragrance is everywhere. Sweet copal resin, dried petals, pine, crushed cacao, and ground vanilla. You press them into pouches that hang from your belt. You offer them in the temples. You inhale them before meetings. It is said the gods themselves breathe in through the scent of flowers. As a child of the noble class, your education was intense. You memorized songs. You learned to paint codices, speak in metaphor, and compose poetry that praises maize and moonlight alike. You studied in the Comicac, the elite school, where priests drilled you in history, astronomy, law, and ritual precision. You were taught to speak with weight, to never raise your voice, to use language like a feathered blade, gentle but sharp with meaning. Now, as an adult, you might serve as a judge, a priest, an ambassador, or even a general, each path is sacred. Each requires restraint. At dusk, your family hosts a meal. Not a loud affair, no clinking of metal, no raucous laughter. Instead, stillness. You sit on mats in a half circle. Servants bring tamales, cacao, roasted turkey with chili, and honey-sweetened amaranth. You drink chocolate, beaten to a froth and spiced with chili. Only nobles may drink it this way. This is not just food. It is symbol. Each dish a gesture of wealth and alignment with the gods. After the meal, a singer performs a slow, sad song of the stars. You sit in silence as his voice fades into the night air. It would be easy to imagine that nobility means leisure. But the weight of power is heavy. You are expected to be an example of virtue, to sacrifice wealth in times of famine, to marry for alliance, to never shame your ancestors. Your death, too, will be orchestrated, your body prepared with flowers and cloth. Your name remembered in songs for generations or forgotten in disgrace. But tonight you are alive, and the sky above Tenochtitlan glows with firelight reflected in water. You lie on a woven mat, the scent of flowers heavy in the air, the songs of the court still echoing. You close your eyes, and the last thing you hear is the sound of distant drums, faint, steady, like the heartbeat of the world. Tonight, we invite you on a long, quiet journey, back through the sands of time, to a place where the living toiled for the dead, and the dead were prepared for eternity. You are safe here. Let your breath slow, and your eyes grow heavy. Let your mind sink softly into the warm golden dust of ancient Egypt. This is not a story of kings and conquests, though you will meet kings. Nor is it a tale of treasure and glory, though we may glance at gold. This is a story of the forgotten, of calloused hands working beneath sacred ceilings, of rituals performed again and again in the dim corridors of tombs where no sunlight ever touched. A story of silence, scent, and sacred service. Tonight, you will walk in the sandals of the pharaoh's embalmer. You will meet a boy king and follow the quiet storm of his passing. You will descend into a labyrinth whispered of by ancient travelers, and you will sit finally in the imagined afterlife where the elite dined forever. Let us begin now, with a breath and a whisper, and a step into a world that has long since turned to sand. Imagine yourself in a stone chamber beneath the earth. The air is heavy not with decay, but with the cloying scent of incense, myrrh, and burnt resin. It sticks to your skin. It clings to your breath. You have been down here for hours, or was it days? There is no sun in the house of purification. You are one of the bandagers, not a high priest, not a reader of spells, just one of many hands. But those hands are steady. They must be. The linen must be wrapped tight, precise, and unbroken, or the soul may wander. You do not speak. No one speaks. The only sound is the soft brushing of cloth, the muted slosh of natron water, and the occasional hiss of heated resin. You begin before the sun rises, though you cannot see it rise. First, the washing. Always the washing. The body, brought by boat from the palace, still warm, once, when you first began. Now cold. The washing is ceremonial, but thorough. Palm wine, Nile water, scented oils. The hands do not shake, even when touching royal flesh. Next comes the drying the natron salts, sacks of it stuffed into the cavity. 30, sometimes 40 days, the body will rest. In the meantime, you prepare. You slice linen. You carve wooden figurines. You grind pigments to paint amulets and scarabs. Everything has meaning. Everything is ritual. And everything must be hidden. You may not speak of what you see. You may not write your name. You are a servant of the dead, and your own life, your desires, your aches, your family waiting in the mud-brick house downriver, must be folded away, like the linen in your hands. It is hot most days. The chamber fills with smoke when resin is boiled. You press cloth to your face. You try not to cough. At night, you return home smelling of oils and dust. Your neighbors avoid you. To work with the dead is holy but feared. They leave offerings outside your door, not for you, for protection. In case something follows you home. On the final days, the high priest enters. He is dressed as Anubis, the jackal-headed god. His voice is low and rhythmic. The opening of the mouth ceremony begins. You kneel behind him, holding tools. He touches the lips of the mummy with each instrument, a chisel, a spoon, a reed. He speaks to the gods. You remain silent. Later, you place Shabti figurines into the coffin tiny servants for the afterlife. You seal the jars with the organs. You paint the spells on the tomb walls. You do not know what they mean. You do not ask. The burial procession is slow. You walk behind, eyes down, through the western desert. The coffin sways as it is carried. Dust swirls at your feet. The sun is sharp, but the ceremony is somber. And when it is over, you return. The next body will come soon. Another God King. Another 70 days of silence and smoke. You do not cry. You do not dream. You sleep with your hands still curved, as if still holding linen. Let the desert settle now. Let us walk into history's most whispered tomb, not as archaeologists, not as treasure seekers, but as quiet observers, drifting back to a time when Egypt was ruled by a boy king. His name was Tutankhamun. You know him from the mask gleaming gold, calm eyes, and deep stillness. But before the silence, there was a fragile, uncertain life. He was born into chaos. His father, Akhenaten, was a heretic king. He had tried to rewrite Egypt's religion, erase the gods, and worship only the sun. Temples were closed, statues smashed, names chiseled away. And when Akhenaten died, the world he built cracked and crumbled. It was into this fragile moment that Tutankhamun, then called Tutankhaten, was crowned pharaoh. He was only 9. Imagine that. A child dressed in the leopard skin of the high priest. A child reciting sacred words to gods whose names had only just been allowed to be spoken again. A child with power so immense it could command nations, and yet held tightly in the grip of those around him. Tutankhamun did not rule alone. The real power was in the hands of advisors A, the schemer, Horemheb, the general. They guided him, shaped him, and perhaps used him. But even in this world of ceremony and manipulation, he grew. He married his half-sister, Ankhesenamun. He walked through the restored temples. He ordered statues to be raised in the old gods' names. He tried, in his quiet way, to bring Egypt back to balance. But his body betrayed him. Tutankhamun was frail. Images of him show him sitting, leaning, walking with a staff. His tomb held over 130 walking sticks. His left foot was twisted, his spine curved. Some believe he suffered from malaria. Others say he broke his leg and it festered. What is certain is this: he died young, around 18 or 19. The cause, still debated. Infection, weakness, disease. Some even whisper of murder. But what is most haunting is the speed. His tomb was not ready. A small chamber, hastily repurposed. The paint on the walls had not dried when he was sealed in. And so, centuries later, when archaeologists entered the chamber, they found spots of mold where moisture had met pigment. They found treasures crammed into corners. They found sandals, food trays, and games. All of it rushed. All of it trying, too late, to make a boy into a god. And then they found him, wrapped, bandaged, burned. Yes, burned. Something in the embalming mixture, perhaps too much resin, perhaps too much haste, caused the body to blacken. Some parts were charred, others shattered. The golden mask had been fused to the linen. They had to cut it off, peel it away. The boy was gone. The king was broken. But the legend was born. When Howard Carter opened the tomb in 1922, he saw wonderful things, but what he found was silence, a life that had vanished without ripples until the desert itself gave him back. Now, Tutankhamun is the most famous of all pharaohs, not for what he did, but for what remained. Gold, silence, mystery. Let us leave him now, resting beneath painted ceilings. A candle flickers. The air is still. Let us walk deeper still, into the unknown. Let your breath slow. The tomb of the boy king fades behind you, and the Nile winds southward once more. We leave the golden mask and seek something far older and far more elusive. You are walking now beside the Fayum Depression near the oasis. It is quiet here. The reeds barely rustle. The desert presses in. And yet, beneath your feet, they say, once stood the most bewildering structure ever built, the lost labyrinth of Hawara. Even in ancient times it was already old. When the Greek historian Herodotus visited Egypt in the 5th century BCE, he wrote of it with awe. It surpasses even the pyramids, the sheer number of rooms. It left me breathless. 1,000 rooms, he claimed. 12 great courts, endless corridors, some above ground, many beneath. The lower level, said the priests, was sacred, filled with tombs no man could enter without divine permission, a place of crocodile mummies and forgotten kings. But here's the mystery. It's gone, vanished. Modern archaeologists have searched for it. Some say they found its ghost foundations buried in sand beneath the modern town of Hawara. But nothing like what Herodotus described remains. Was it truly that vast? Was it myth? Or was it destroyed, erased deliberately? Some believe the labyrinth was built by Amenhotep III of the 12th dynasty almost 4,000 years ago. A great mortuary temple near his pyramid. But even if that is true, why does it not remain? Blocks may have been stolen, repurposed in later buildings. Earthquakes may have collapsed its halls. Others whisper of something darker. That what was hidden there, perhaps sacred texts, ancient maps, or forbidden rites, was buried by time itself. There are satellite images. Some claim they show underground structures. But sand, wind, and politics make excavation near impossible. And so we are left with fragments, an account from a Greek traveler, a few stone remnants, a sense of something vast, just out of reach. Imagine it, walking through endless corridors, Your torch flickers against polished limestone. The walls are silent. The air is cool, dry, whisper-thin, and you are utterly, entirely lost. Now let the labyrinth close its doors behind us. We do not belong there. Not yet. Let us rise once more to the surface, to music, wine, and quiet splendor. Now the sand grows soft, the air warm, but no longer oppressive. The stone chambers and hidden tombs fall behind you, and you find yourself in a garden, a palace garden. It is early evening. The Nile breeze carries the scent of lotus and roasted duck. You are not a laborer now. You are not a priest. You are not even truly alive. You are among the chosen, the elite. You are one of the nobles of ancient Egypt, and this is your eternal banquet. But before the feasting, there was life. The life of a noble was structured but opulent. You lived in a spacious villa mudbrick, yes, but brightly painted. The ceilings were high. The walls told your stories in pigments that glowed in candlelight. You rose early not because you had to, but because the sun was sacred. Your servants brought water for washing. You anointed your skin with oils, frankincense, cinnamon, and lily. You dressed in fine linen pleated, scented, a collar of beads around your neck, a wig of blackened hair, a golden ring, perhaps, from the pharaoh himself. Your breakfast was light figs, bread, beer. Then came business. As a high official, you might oversee temple lands, or tax shipments from Nubia. You met scribes, listened to disputes, counted offerings, and when the sun reached its highest, you withdrew to the cool shade, to music, a girl with a harp, a boy with a reed flute, a servant fanning the air beside your low, cushioned seat. Lunch was larger, roast goose, stewed lentils, cake sweetened with honey, and wine dark red, rich, poured into alabaster cups. In the evening you hosted. Guests arrived in boats, dressed in sheer white linen. They were greeted with garlands of flowers draped over their shoulders. Singers performed under acacia trees. Dancers moved slowly, rhythmically, to the beat of hand drums. The feast was long. Plates were heaped, jars refilled. But it was not gluttony. It was joy. And it was sacred, because every one of these pleasures was prepared again for eternity. Your tomb was carved to mirror your villa. Your paintings showed servants bringing wine, musicians playing your favorite songs, your wife beside you, forever young. You would dine again in the field of reeds, Egypt's paradise. There the barley grew tall. There no pain touched you. There you would feast and feast and feast. But here is the quiet truth. You could not take it with you unless it was remembered. So you built, you painted, you wrote spells. You prepared offerings, not for the gods, but for yourself. So that one day, when your name was spoken and your tomb reopened, you would awaken again to the soft sound of flutes, to wine and warm bread, and laughter in the palm-shaded dusk. And now the banquet fades, the harp slows, the tomb doors close gently. You've walked the paths of the embalmer, witnessed a boy king's quiet death, wandered through lost corridors, and rested among the eternal elite. Let the desert cradle your dreams. Let the old world whisper through the sands. You are safe. You are still. Sleep. Now